people, Reuven and Shimon, they bought a lottery ticket. But the problem is, Reuven gave Shimon money, let's say he gave him $10, and Shimon went ahead and he bought 2 tickets, each for $10. 1 ticket won. The question is, who won? Since there's no agreement between them, which one have what ticket. And each party can claim ownership over the money, and the subject of yesh brera or en brera, the subject of understanding retroactively, or the idea of muhzak, it's a centerpiece of our discussion today. Another example I read in Yarchon Stolin is it's a monthly bulletin from the Hasidic sect of Stolin. They present a question, someone who's Magia Tefillin. As you know, if you need your tefillin to be checked, you go to a scribe, and usually he gives you another pair of tefillin for several days to use in between. So that fellow left the tefillin by the Magia, by the scribe, and the Magia gave him a pair of tefillin. All of a sudden he used them and he left them in a synagogue, he can't find them. So the sofer asked him to pay him for that pair. The other fellow said, I'm not a regular situation of shoel. Shoel meaning a borrower, that he has a full right and full benefit. While you're renting a car or while you're taking something that belongs to someone else, you can use it in your fullets. Here, it's you, meaning the scribe, also gain your business by having this structure of your business, giving me the pair of tefillin in exchange of having me leave mine in order for you to fix it. So there is a concept that's called be'alav imo. Be'alav imo, the question is how far you go with this, but that's part of our discussion today. The idea of ma'aseh kinyan, the transactions between party, the rights, how one party can impose upon the others. So let's go with the first case. We're going to study today page 52 in Tractate Bava Kamma. We'll start in 51b, 14 lines from the bottom of the page. עבר עליו הראשון ולא כיסהו. We have a pit that belongs to 2 partners, and the first one passed by and did not cover it. The second one passed by, it did not cover it. So here you have the obligation of payment, the liability of payment upon whom? Upon the second one. So the Gemara asks, Verishon, the first one, me'eimat miftar. When the first one is exempt from paying damage of the pit, and he said that that's not my obligation, the second one. So they said, Rabba v'Rav Yosef da'amri travayu mishmei de Rabba bar Chana דאמר משמי דרבמני, אחד אמר משמניחו משתמש. The first one said, when the time that he leave the second one using the pit, ואחד אמר משמסו לו דליו. The second one said, when the time when he hands over the pit's cover to the second one. Now, there is a 2 view. One is Rabbeinu Hananel, who said that is real dli. According to Rashi, is only the cover. The same way the Chazon Ish said that we learn in Gemarrah in Sukkah 11, Hidla alea et hadegefen. Anyway, so the Ketanai. This is the same as disputation among the Tanaim. Hamadle mai minabo. One who drawing water from a cistern. Uba chavero ve'amar lo hanachli v'ani al demaim. So just remember the Talmudic times. We are back 1700 years ago, 1800 years ago. So they have pits, they have cistern, and that's the way they have the very basic water. So if one is drawing water from a cistern, that cistern he owned, but he's not a single owner, you have a partnership with another guy. And then, ובא חברו ואמר לו, הנח לי ואני על למים. So his fellow comes and he said, leave me here and I'll draw the water. כיוון שהניחו משתמש. So once the first one leave the second one using the cistern, he is exempt of liability from damage that he causes. פטור. רבי אליעזר בן יעקב אומר, משימסור לו דליו. So here, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov hold, the time is only when he conveys his bucket to the second person. What's the source of this disputation? Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov savar yesh brera. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov hold that there is a retroactive clarification, which means that the whole legal concept, when you have two partners, so one partner retroactively express his partnership in the way that he make the deals. So it means that it's already owns at that moment. For example, you have a state that belongs to two partners. So you cannot say that each of them has a full possession over the estate, because each partner has half. However, you cannot say that each of them have a full half of that, because each of them can use it at full. Imagine our area. You know many guys that join ownership of boat, right? Boats here, it's very expensive, right? So I'm talking about fancy one, right? You see it on the shore area. What is called that place that used to sell slaves? What is called that place?
Oh, Ego Alley.
Ego Alley, right? So you go to Ego Alley sometimes at night, right? The city dock. You see those fancy boats. So you have sometimes those boats owned by one or two or three partners, right? So I have that boat on Sunday. You have, let's say, the non-Jewish guy, right? Have the boat on Saturday, etc., etc. So the idea is each of them use the entire estate for all the times. You cannot split the boat to two, meaning each of them, when they use the entire boat, correct? So what happened is, according to Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, the definition of the ownership of that estate, that is partnership, meaning when you have two partners, let's say Reuven and Shimon, that they bind together in the partnership, something that both of them pay equally half, they have this dat kinyan, they have the mindset when they make that deal that each of them has a full right to use it and his time. So it means the entire money. Let's say if the boat worth $1 million, unfortunately there are boats that they are much more, right? But let's say if the boat worth $1 million and each of them put $500,000 for that boat, money to the water, right? So what happened is each of them have the mindset that when he has his timeshare or is part of the boat, is fully his. So since he hold that yesh brera, that we have this legal partnership in a retroactive manner, each of time that one of them use the boat, he is basically make breirat kinyan. That's the way Rabbeinu Nissim explained in Tractate Nedarim, page 45b, that each of them has breirat kinyan, that what he does when they bought it applies to that very moment, which means at that moment that they have that money is belongs to him. At that very moment that I use the boat on Sunday is 100% mine in that sense. Now, verses, so what he said, Hai mididei kamemale, v'hai mididei kamemale. So it means this one we're feeling from his part, the location is now being determined retroactively, and this one we're feeling from his part. So what do you see? Even the first one, let the second one use the cistern. The second one is not considering using the cistern of his fellow. He's considering as a borrower for that time. So therefore, he doesn't have a special obligation to guard the pit, and the obligation applies to whom? Equally to both of them. So if that pit is a damage, both of them needs to pay. Only if the first one gave the second one the cover of the pit, then it's different stories. Then he's showing his action that the obligation is upon whom? Upon the second one. So therefore the responsibility, Rashi explains, go by whom? By the second one. Ve'Rabbanan, the sages disputed it, and the sages said, Ve'Rabbanan savrei en brera. So the sages said, no, even you agreed that this estate belonged to both of them. They said that each partner's draw the water. It is retroactively clarified that from the moment they entered into the partnership, he has exclusive right to his portion at this time. So it means each of them uses only his own portion of the bore of the cistern when he draw the water, and does not borrow his fellow portion. Amar Ravina, Ravina said, ve'azlu letama. They go for their reasoning, as we learned in Mishnah, in Tractate Nedarim, page 45b. Hashutafim, you have partners, shenadru an'ara ze mizeh. All kind can be negative, can be positive, all kind of reasons. Two partners made a vow that I will not derive benefit from you, and the other guy said I'll not do it from you. So now each of them prohibited the others. Asurim likanes lechatzer. If they own together a yard, one cannot enter the others. Why? Because each of them by entering is using the others. Why? Because the Torah said lo yachel dvaro in book of Bamidbar chapter 30. So the Rashbam in Bava Batra 57 explains that that means that the moment you go to the other partners, you are in violation. Okay? Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov אומר, no, זה נכנס לדוח שלו וזה נכנס לדוח שלו. Since you have a joint yard that belongs to both partners, Reuven and Shimon, so it's considering that each one of them entered to his own domain. But remember the problem. Each of them said, I'll never step in your domain. You know the famous saying. You have a Jew in an empty island, he builds two shuls. Why have two shuls? Because this shul will never come in, never go in. Right? So here there is a guy gets mad at the other guy, and he said, I never derive any benefit from you. Right? So they have a joint yard, so now it's a problem. Why? Because according to according to the Ravina, so he said, no, Reuven cannot enter that place because Shimon is part, and Shimon cannot enter a place because Reuven have a part. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov said, since Reuven and Shimon, both of them owns that yard, so each of them enter to his own yard. So therefore, if they join yard, the Ritva explained there in Nedarim that they can use in join, so the prohibition that one causes the other is not total prohibition, since each partner has the yard in part. Now, it's problematic. Why is it problematic? Because each of them make an expression that he will not enter the others. So, but it is and it's not partnership. So that's the way Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov said, what's the source, the essence of the disputation between Rabbina and Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov? Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov savar yesh brera. Right? So Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov said, yes, you can go ahead, and there is a retroactive designation, and retroactively the section of the courtyard that each one enters become a portion that belongs to him. Each of them enter to what? To his own part, because you have partnership in that. The sages maintain that there is no retroactive designation, and each portion of the courtyard belongs jointly to both, and therefore by going there you're in violation of your vow. So the same is if you think about etrog in Jewish history, many times it was a situation that people cannot afford. It's too much. ולקחתם לכם ביום הראשון. The Torah said it has to be yours. So what do? You're buying it. And then when you finish using it, the first day, you make a kinyan. It's a big question, halacha, should you said rak leploni, or how you transfer the ownership. But anyway, the story goes that Reb Chaim Brisk, great Lithuanian rabbi, so he bought once an etrog with another partner, Shalom Menashe of Brisk. So he basically not let his partner see, he was so strict, see the etrog, and he basically have the money in advance before the Chag, and only when he finished the mitzvah using the etrog, then he did the total matana gmura, total gift to the others. So in that sense, it wasn't any problem or any question of partnership, and mishelachem, it has to be yours.
It's just got to be only to the one person.
Yeah, but the question is when you
give it to a bunch of people.
Yeah, but the question is each time when you give it, Reuven give it to Shimon, he said that it's total gift to you.
Yeah, to only him.
Only to him.
Right, yeah.
Anyway, אומר רבי אלעזר, המוכר בו לחברו כיוון שמסר לו דליו קנה. So he said, Rabbi Elazar said, the moment you conveyed it to his bucket, you sell the pit, so then it's like soon you see, it's like you're selling a property, the moment you give the key. Hechedami, what are you talking about? Ibe kaspa, if you said something, make something that is effective for kinyan kesef, it means that you give money in exchange for the pit, liknei bechaspa, so he let him acquire the cistern through the payment of the money. I bechazaka, if you tell me that it was toward the chazaka, which means that you have this masek inyan of transactions by chazaka, liknei bechazaka. So what exactly you have a legal signification when you do that? If you tell me that this is a situation that the buyer did not do neither kinyan kesef nor kinyan chazaka, how does he purchase this cistern? Because just selling the bucket by itself, it's not sufficient to make maaseh kinyan. So the Gemara said, "Lo'olam bechazaka." Actually, he's come to chazaka. U'ba'elememar lech chazek uknei. He said, go take possession and thereby acquire it for yourself. וכיוון שמסר לו דליו, and since he convey his bucket to him, כמאן דאמר לו לחזק וקנה קמיה. So it's like he said to him, go take possession and thereby acquire it. So you begin drawing water from the bowl, from the cistern, he is acquired through taking possessions. So he's Rav Za'afrani, it's a great rabbi in Israel, wrote a book, Mishpat Shlomo. So in that book he asked, sometimes you see it in a car dealership, they let you go around with the car. You want to buy the car, you go around the block or you walk around, right, and test the car. So he said, when you have people buying cars, so he gives you the key, let you go around the car, use it. So the question is, if the guy used the car, for example, for full day, and you return the car, is that considered chazakah or not? Can the person say, I don't want to buy it, or not? It's not simple by halacha, it sounds like, but anyway. Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, המוכר בית לחברו. Here we talk about selling a house to another fellow. 52, כיוון שמסר לו מפתח קנה. The moment he gives to his hand over the key, so he acquired it. Hey chedami, bechaspa, if you tell me that the buyer made some maaseh kinyan, he does some transaction of money, paying money, likne bechaspa. Bechazaka, if you tell me kinyan chazaka, likne bechazaka, so taking possession. So why he needs to give him the key? So if you tell me that is neither one, neither kesef nor chazakah, how exactly he purchased the house? Just giving the key, it's not sufficient. So the Gemara said, le'olam bechazakah, the taking possession. Ubaile meimar lei, he needs to say to him, lech chazek uknei. So he needs to tell him, when he go perform the act of chazakah and acquire the house thereby. וכיוון שמסר לו מפתח, the moment he handed over to him the key, so כמאן דאמר לי, לך חזק וקנה דמי. It's like he said to him, go, take possession, and as a result you acquire it. So it means you can do it even without the present of the sale. So Tosfot explains, so what do you see here? The giving the key, it's not the sufficient to make the chazakah. The amira, the statement, lech chazek uknei, that's basically the matter of acquisition. The Rashbam in Bava Batra 52 elaborates on this maaseh kinyan. The Shev Shmatata also have malach on this. Amar Reish Lakish mishum Rabbi Yanai, hamocher eder, said that if one sells a flock of sheep to another, לחברו, כיוון שמסר לו משכוכית, קנה, the moment he hands to him the משכוכית, so the moment he does that, he bought it. He handed over to him, it's משכוכית is the flock after it. The fellow is acquired the flock. So the idea is something that causes all the other flock to follow. The Gemara goes further to say that it's either meshicha or either moshech, that the flock followed him. Anyway, Kana echedame, if you tell me that the kinyan is through drawing near, likne b'mshicha, vi b'msira, if you tell me that is by pulling, likne b'msira, leolam b'mshicha, u'ba'el meimar lei, he needs to say to the buyer, lech meshoch ukne, v'kevan demasar lo mashkuchit, which soon the Gemara, as we said, going to give us several avenues. כמאן דאמר ללך משוך וקנה דמי. The same as he said to him, go, pull it, and acquire it. מהי משכוכית? So now we need to understand the concept. הכה, in Babylon תרגמו, קרקשתא. קרקשתא is the shepherd's ring, was the sounds the flock to follow him. So all the flock basically hear that and follow. Right? Rabbi Yaakov Omer, Iza de Azla Beresh Adra. That's applied to what? To the goat that walks at the head of the flock. So sometimes Rashi said the owner have a smart animal that can lead everyone else. So he basically put that the first. So everyone else follow the how do you call it in the horses? The alpha, right? Mm-hmm. The first one, who leads all of it. Like someone from the Galilite who explained, Alei de Rav Chizda, Kad Ragiz Ra'aya al Ana, when the shepherd is angry at his flock, Avid lenagoda samuta. So what did he do? He blinds the leaders, right? And that happened, all the flocks that follow going to trap and not make it. So when the Almighty wants to express his anger, so what they do, he appointed people who are, I'm not saying only politicians, can be others, that mislead the people, and everyone fall to their traps. right? So in Yerushalayim it was a big tzaddik, Rabbi David Biderman. So one time he said, when you have a Rebbe, he says his Rebbe was Rabbi David of Lelov. So he said, if you have a Rebbe like that, takes you to Gan Eden. They said that when in a way God give us leaders. So those leaders can be like Moshe Rabbeinu, or can be leaders that mislead the people. And there's a story about Rabbi Yeshua of Belz, was one of the greatest Rabbeim, Hasidic Rebbe. So he had the surgery in Vienna, and he knew already he's not going to make it. So he went to the professor, and it was 9 people, 9 Hasidim around him. So he said to the secular Jewish, but the professor, he said to him, do you believe in God? He said yes. He said, do you believe in Mashiach? He said no. He says, why? He says, look, you have an army, you have forces. You tell me that the Mashiach was riding a donkey. How is going to win over all those forces? So the story goes that he has a large top of his eyelid. So he raised his eyes and he looked at this professor, and the professor get such a frightened look. So he said, no, I changed my mind. I do believe. And right away after that, he passed away. So his son, Rabbi Sachar Dov of Belz, explained that his father wants to have a minyan of people, 10 men, at the time of the Yetziat Neshama, at the time that his soul departed, that believe in the end of the days. So that's the power of the tzaddik. That's the power of the leadership, Manigei Israel, that we'll be able to do this. Anyway, the Mishnah dealing with the partnership in a cistern, 2 partners. Kisau harishon. You have a pit that belongs to 2 partners. So the first person who passed, he covered it after he completes using it. Uba Sheni, and the second person came in, and what happened? Umetzao megule, and he found it uncovered. Velo chisau, and after he did not cover it, obviously Hasheni chayav, the second one needs to pay for that, and the first one exempt. Kisau karaui v'nafal letocho shor chamor, if the owner covered the pit appropriately and an ox or donkey fell into it and died, umet patur, and he died, is exempt. Lo kisau karaui, if he did not cover it appropriately, v'nafal letocho shor chamor umet, and an ox or donkey fell into it and died, chayav is liable to pay. Gemarrah explained it later. Nafal lefanav mikol hakriya, if while they digging the ox passing by and fell forward because it was a great fighting, so you hear the sound of the digging and he gets frightened, so they said chayav is liable. Even the ox was smart, right? Le'acharav mikol hakriya, backward from that sounds, patur, he is exempt. So now the Mishnah speak about different obligation. The Torah said the owner of a pit. Nafal letocho shor v'cheilav v'nishtabru. If an ox with its utensils fell into the pit and the utensils broke, chamor v'cheilav v'nitkar'u, or it was a donkey with its utensils fell into the pit and the utensils tore, chayav ala behema upatur ala kelim, is obligated, liable to pay for the animal, exempt, he is exempt for the utensils. That's what the Torah said in Shemot 21. The Torah obligated the person to pay for the animal. When it's come to utensils, different story. Nafal letocho shor cheresh shoteh v'katan. If the ox fell there, but the ox was either cannot hear, or the ox was deranged or minor, so chayav, he needs to pay. Ben or bat, boy or girl, Eved, Canaanite slave, or Ama, or Canaanite maid servant, Patu, he's exempt. And so that's what the Torah said, shore. So that's we derive from the word shore. Anyway, וראשונה דמאית נפטר. The Gemara said, until when the first one is exempt. אמריו בכדי שידע. It's exempt until enough time passed for him to know that the pit is uncovered. ושמואל אמר בכדי שיודיעו. Shmuel said, when exempt, when they realize that the pit is uncovered, and it was informed by other people. ורבי יוחנן אמר בכדי שיודיעו וישיזכור פועלים ויכרות ארזים ויחסנו. So they inform him, and he hire workers and cut cedar trees to make suitable cover and cover it. So after this period of time pass, the first bear responsibility. כיסהו כראוי ונפל לתוכו שור חמור ומת פטור. So if he cover it appropriately and is a ox or donkey folder, so he is exempt. כיוון דכיסהו כראוי איך נפל. If he cover it properly, how is the animal fall? אמר רבי יצחק בבר חנא שהתליע מתוכו, said that it become warmy from within it. So he cannot stand for the heaviness of the ox or donkey. So that's the reason that it's broke. היא באה לו, כיסהו בכיסוי שיכול לעמוד לפני שברים, ואין יכול לעמוד לפני גמלים. So it's a different weight. For ox, yes, for camel not, ועטו גמלים והרעוע, and their camel come in and make it weak. ועטו שברים ונפלה למאי. אמרי יחידם איש כגמלים פושעו. If it's a common to see a camel, so obviously he's responsible, he's liable. ולא שכגמלים אנוסו. If it's not found, he's a victim of circumstances beyond his control. So Gemara said לו צריכה דעתו לפרקים, that sometimes, מי אמרנו כיוון דעתו לפרקים פושעו, דיבה עליה סוכה דעתי, או דילמה, כיוון דאשכם יעלקה, אנוסו. So the question is, if you have to anticipate that they will come, or you say that it's honest, it's beyond his control. תשמע, כיסהו קרוי ונפל לתוכו שור חמור. He said he covered the pit appropriately, and an ox and donkey fell into it and died. So he said, פטור exempt. איך ידמי, אימה, קראוי לשברים וחיו לגמלים. If it's feeding for the ox and camels, היכן הפול, how come they fell into the cistern? אלא לאו, but you have to say, בראוי לשברים, קראוי לשברים, that it was made properly for what? For the ox. 52b, ולא קראוי לגמלים, and not appropriately for camel. So the camel came along and damaged the cover, so that ox later fell through to the pit. So that's must be the case. If you have common camel, he is fully responsible. As we said it sometimes, and the camel caused the damage to that pit and make it weak. As a result, later on the oxen come in and fall there. And we said owner of the system exempt. So he said that since when it's covering the pit, there is not any camel in the area, he is considered blameless for the damage that is actually occurred to the oxen through the weakness of the cover of the camel. They said, actually, no, the scenario is when it's covered appropriately and the oxen appropriately for the camel. And it's difficult for you to explain how exactly they fall. אמר רבי יצחק בבר חנא שהתליע מתוכו. He said that they're rotten from the inside. So nothing can be driven from here with regard to a question that we said earlier about the camel. תשמע, לא כיסהו קרוב ונפל לתוכו שור חמור ומת חייב. היחידה מאילם, לא קראו לשברים ולא קראו לגמלים פשיטה. צריכה לממד חייב, אלא לאו קראו לשברים ולא קראו לגמלים, לא קראו לגמלים ויחידה מאידש כי גמלים פושעו. היא לא שכח גמלים גנוסו ליסי מהלך. אלא לאו דעתי לפרקים. You have to say that sometimes, ועדו גולים יבואו ועדו שברים ונפלו בבקלתני, חייב. אלמה, כיוון דעתי לפרקים, since you see it sometimes, פושע הוא דיבה לעסוקה דעתי. So said לעולם קראו לשברים ולא קראו לגמלים. הוא שכיח גמלים מקקה שלך פושע הוא עד נסיב רישה כיסאו כראוי, נסיב נמי סייפה לא כיסאו כראוי. So since you said that in the first clause that he covered it properly, he cites the later clause that said that he did not cover it properly, so he's liable. So it's not חידוש. איקדה אמרה נמי ודאי לא באה אלן כיוון דעת לפרקים פושע הוא, I'm out of time. דיבה אלה סוכה דתה, כי באה לאנך, כיוון דיבה אלן כיסאו כיסוי שיכול לעמוד לפני שברים ולא יכול לפני גמלים. Can stand that cover for oxen, not for camel. הוא שכיח הגמלים. You have common camels there. So, והתליע מתוכו, there's one from inside, מה, what's the din? אומרים, מי גודע ופושע אצל גמלים, ופושע התלאה, או אמרינן, או דילמה, לא אמרינן מיגו. So do we said that since he is considering negligent concerning camels, he is also considered negligent with regard to rotten. So the Gemara said, לא, תשמע, כיסאו קרוי ונפל דוחו שור חמור ומת פטור. והתמר עלה. אומר רבי יצחק בר חמא, שהתליע מתוכו. היחדה מעילה מה קראוי לשברים וקראו לגמלים, והתליע מתוכו פשיטה, זה פטור. So obviously if it's from the warming from inside, so it's obvious that he is exempt. What can you do in order to avoid them to fold it? אלא לאו קראו לשברים ולא קראו לגמלים, ושכיח גמלים. התליע מתוכו וקטני פטור. אלמה לא אומרים, מי גודע ופושע לגמלים, אבל פושע התלאה. So he said, you cannot hold the same migo. So we said, since it's not common, that though it's warming from inside, so it's called honest. It's beyond his control. לא לעולם קראו לשברים וקראו לגמלים. קראו לגמלים וקראו לשברים. So you said, actually, here we talk about it's appropriate for camels and appropriate for oxen. והתליע מתוכו, and it rotten from in the inside. ודקה שלך, כי התליע מהאבא ללמבא. If you ask a question, if it's that, the case is rotten from inside, what can you do? מה עוד יתמה בא למזל ומן קשלי? So he said that he should have gone and knocked on the covering to ensure that it's not hollow on the inside. So Kamash Melans come to teach her that he is not obligated to check the cover, since the cover is exempt. Tashma lo kisav karo v'nafal docho shor chamor v'met chayav echidami. If he didn't cover it properly, and an ox or donkey fall into the eye, he is liable. What exactly are you talking about? If it tells it's not properly either for oxen nor camels, pshita, it's obvious. It's necessary to say that he's liable to pay for the camel or oxen. It's good for oxen, but not for camel. If the camels are common, posheau is clearly negligent. If the camel is not common, anusu is blameless. He's not realized that the camels will come along and render the cover and feed the oxen. You said that the camel come by occasionally, and the camels actually came and damaged the cover of the pit, and the oxen came and fell into it, because it comes sometimes. So he's basically is considered negligent, because you have to consider the possibility. If you say that he's negligent, then since the Tana deals in the first clause that the owner covered the pit properly, so you deal now with the later one the opposite way. The owner did not cover it properly. Ikra de Amrei. Wait. Tashma, I'm sorry. Tashma. נפל לתוכו שור חרש, שותה וקטן, so if, again, it's just scenario, hypothetical scenario, an ox or donkey fell into it and died. Suma, or oxen that is blind. ובהלך בלילה חייב. So it's walking the בלילה חייב פיקח, מלך ביום פטור. So if it's at night, so it's responsible, is liable. If it's one who's intelligent and doing the day, exempt. Amai, nema midiav poshel in acharish or poshel nad pikiach. Since the negligence concerning the one who's deaf is also negligent concerning the ox is standard intelligent. אלא לאו שמע מיני לא אומרים על מיגו. So we don't say that since he is negligent with regard to one matter, he is also negligent to another matter, but he is held liable only for the damage actually attributable to his negligence. So the Gemara affirm, yes, Shma Mina. They conclude from the Mishnah is so. So Rambam and others have Lemaise. Why he is considering the Balabait? If he need kal v'nafal, if he touched it and fell, so you can say that so you have the Tanat Migo. Nimukei Yosef explain if someone hidlik esh, caused a fire, and that fire caused damage, but the reason for damage is because he forgot that he lit a fire. You know, sometimes you leave the house, start driving, and you realize that you left the stove on, the oven on, right? It happens, right, Mr. Elliot, right?
Yeah.
So that's dangerous, right? You have to rush back to the house because you left something on, right? So if someone turned the fire, caused a fire, and he forget that he's a fire, the question is that considering honest beyond his control or not? For example, if someone dig a pit and he forget to cover it, so is that considering honest or not? So the Mukei Yosef of Malach, the same if, for example, someone forget to daven mincha. Alright, so you forget to daven mincha. What do you think, Mr. Elliot? Forget to daven mincha. So the question is that honest or not honest? So the Mukei Yosef said it depends. If you do melacha, if you do work that the rabbis warn you not to be engaged so much with that work that you're so preoccupied that you forget and mincha pass by, then it's not considering honest.
Yeah.
Versus if you just forget. So it's different madregot when it's come to the honest. That's the Nimukei Yosef.
If you just forget, then you're not marv, you mean
Twice, Namida twice. Yeah.
But you can't do it by Musaf. You can't
No,
make up
no.
Musaf or Nila.
Not Nila now, neither.